We don't have favorite teams at Idaho Sports. We love everybody the same. But there are teams that I feel for. And one of those teams I feel for is Homedale.
State of Ada? That's fake news, my friend.
Why he won that tournament the day they lost in the first round last year.
From the big boys in the SIC to the 1A wonders in the long pin, the Treasure Valley Prepcast has all of your District 3 athletics covered.
You go in the gym at Parma, and there's a couple banners for other sports, and then there's a ton of tennis banners all over.
It's the Treasure Valley Prepcast with Logan Green on IdahoSports.com. That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Sans Logan Green. In case you missed it on last week's show, we have a new host stepping up to talk weekly about Treasure Valley sports from 6A all the way down to 1A. It's a guy you know. It's Paul Kingsbury. He's the guy that runs the joint from IdahoSports.com. Paul Kingsbury, hello. Welcome in.
Brandon, always a pleasure to talk with you and excited for this. Logan is just a really, really busy guy these days with other stuff going on. So I'm happy to get the call up to the bigs.
Yep, for sure. We have got some really exciting stuff to get to on today's show. We're going to hit football, a little volleyball, a little soccer talk as well, as the end of the regular season fast approaching. In fact, the first state competitions of the weekend, Paul, are here. State golf taking place this weekend. The 6A tournament's going to be over in Pocatello at the Highland golf course right there by Highland High School. And then the 5A competition taking place over in Burley at the River's Edge Golf Club. So
right. And we were at Highland High School last weekend, and it is literally just east of the football field. It's beautiful, and it's going to be good weather this weekend, which is nice. I think Friday might be iffy. And if anything's iffy, it's going to be the Magic Valley, and that's going to be wind. But they say it's going to be nice weather. And you get to mid-October in Idaho, you never know what you're going to get year to year.
Yeah, the only question is, will the Treasure Valley sweep all of the team titles? They're definitely going to sweep the 6A titles. Rocky Mountain girls have been phenomenal in golf over the past couple of years. Right. Boys side, there's no shortage of good candidates to take home the title. And then in that 5A competition, really, it's always Bishop Kelly and Twin Falls for both boys and girls golf. So very good chance that Treasure Valley just sweeps this thing, and that makes sense. There's a lot of good golf courses over in the Treasure Valley.
There are a plethora of golf courses here in the Treasure Valley from one end to the other. Like there's small ones clear out west of Wilder, Payette, just outside of Middleton, all the way to the other end. So, there's a lot of great golf courses, a lot of golf played in the Treasure Valley. And in years past, it was Eastern Idaho, Shelley, and Highland. The Hyams on that side of the state just racked up wins and wins. And so the Treasure Valley coming into their own here in golf, and I like to see it. And I like that they're playing it in the fall as well. I really like golf in the fall instead of the spring, and I'm sure they do as well.
Yeah, it's 2 years now in a row. Very good weather. I'm still waiting for the year where it's just a downpour or it decides to snow early or something. And then what do we do?
I've done football games early October in the snow in the Treasure Valley. So you never know what's going to happen with El Nino or El Nina or whatever the case may be every year. So, but at least we're not in the path of Milton, right? I've got some friends that are in the path, kind of keeping in touch with them. So thoughts and prayers there with all those Floridians in the path there.
Yep, for sure. Okay, so let's switch gears to football. This is a result we all saw coming. Yeah, sure. Weiser 30, Homedale 6. My jaw hit the floor when I saw that score last Friday night, Paul. This was just an incredible win for Weiser. And for Homedale now, the question is, how do we pick up the pieces? They've got no time. They've got Fruitland coming to town, undefeated Fruitland, by the way. So this is a huge 2-week stretch here for Homedale. But let's start with Weiser first. They come out and put the clamps down on Homedale defensively.
Defensively, they were double teaming. They were triple teaming. 4 interceptions by Uranga. That's and a fumble on a bad snap. But when have you ever seen a Uranga have 4 interceptions? And there's been Urangas playing there since before my time at Plymouth. We're talking 80s, 90s. And so Tom Harrison, he's good. I mean, he's been an Idaho institution for years and years and years. And and he has got Weiser in a place where his teams have never beat Homedale. That's the last time Weiser beat Homedale was 2012, when the Aztecs said that this was all going to end. That's when they beat them 26-18, and they had won a few times before that in a row, but it's been a long time since Weiser has beaten Homedale, and for them to get it in Weiser was even better. I was talking to our broadcaster that was on that game, Clay Hatfield, and he's like, "Yeah, thanks for sending me to Weiser." And I'm like, "Well, really, it was Brandon who made that assignment." But I said, it should be a good game. And he said, "Well, Lucas and I are meeting up, and we're going to have lunch at a cafe there in Weiser. It might be the highlight of our night." And then they go and do this, the first win over Homedale by Weiser in 12 years. Not bad.
It was the first loss in Snake River Valley Conference play for Homedale since 2017, when they lost to Fruitland, and that is who is coming to town. So,
yeah. And just to preview that a little bit, that Homedale Fruitland, in the past 6 years, Homedale has scored 288 points on Fruitland to Fruitland's 34 points. They're averaging 38-5 with 3 shutouts against Fruitland in the last 6 years. Is this year going to be different?
I'd say Homedale is probably going to be pretty motivated to.
Oh yeah, coming out of that. I mean, how would it be to be Homedale and lose to Weiser? You haven't lost to in 14 years, and then come out and lose to a Fruitland. And Fruitland, you can't look past them either. I mean, Fruitland, you in the years past, like the last few years, yeah, you can look past Fruitland. Not this year. Not this year. They've got a good young crop of athletes, and they're looking good.
This Weiser defense, 5 takeaways, 4 interceptions, and a fumble recovery. Colin Cook, he plays both ways, which is somewhat unusual in 4A football. He's Weiser's quarterback, but he is also a defensive enforcer. He was making big hits all over the field. And so for Weiser, this defense, just outstanding. They came in with the game plan of basically doubling or tripling Luke Henry out on the perimeter, and Homedale just had no answers.
Well, if Uranga can't throw the ball, he got 4 interceptions, also a fumble, bad snap. I'm sure they were rushing him all night. And his favorite receivers got 3 Wolverines on him. What do you do? I mean, you can try the run game, but we just got pretty big up front. So it was a pretty darn good game plan by Tom Harrison to come out and get this win last Friday night.
Yeah, the wily veteran, Tom Harrison, has won a lot of games at Weiser. First win over Homedale, though, was last Friday. I saw Weiser with my own eyes. They played Lakeland earlier this year in a non-conference game that we broadcast on IdahoSports.com. I was impressed with Weiser's offensive and defensive lines. They held up well against Lakeland, which is a larger school, and Lakeland's offensive and defensive lines are no joke. And so I was talking to some Weiser fans after the game. This was right after they had lost to Buell. They had stubbed their toe against Buell in that very famous game that we all picked Weiser to win. and
Buell let us know about it.
Yes, Buell came out and beat them 13-7, and then they went up to Lakeland and they actually lost by a larger point margin. They lost by like 14 or 15 points. I was talking to some Weiser fans after the game, though, and they said we played better tonight in a more lopsided loss than we did in that game against Buell. Those Weiser fans really thought they should have beaten Buell and thought they actually played better against Lakeland in a more lopsided game, which I thought was interesting. But you can see Weiser starting to peak here at the right time.
And peaking at the right time is always the best time. You get those early season losses out, you learn, right? And if there's injuries, you've got the season to get better until you get into conference play. And so those first 2, 3, 4 games, we've talked about it before, you look at a team's record until they get to that 4th, 5th, 6th game. Sometimes you just don't know if they're playing a lot of out of conference teams. You just don't know how good or how bad they might be. And Weiser, I think, is a great example of that.
Yep. So Weiser now with wins over McCall Donnelly and Homedale in conference play. We'll see if they can get an assist from Homedale now to take care of Fruitland, or Weiser can just take care of Fruitland themselves here in a couple of weeks as well. This is going to be a fascinating race. All 3 teams will be in the playoffs, and we will talk more about not just the 3A SRV, but all of the statewide games with implications and what the playoff picture looks like on Gem State Game Day. This is our new show that we have launched this fall. It airs every Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Mountain Time on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can then go back and watch it anytime on replay, Thursday or Friday as well. But we break down all the games. We show you the standings. We tell you about the big matchups. It's a lot of fun, Paul.
Oh, it's a ton of fun. I mean, the whole game day production this year with the the game day show ahead of time, then game day actual game of the week. It's a lot of fun, and we're going to continue to grow it. We're going to make it bigger. Possibly have a game of the week in each region eventually, which would be nice. So, yeah, just keep your eyes on what we're doing here. We're working hard to make things better for you.
Yep. All right, let's pivot to soccer. The soccer postseason gets started a little later this week. In fact, the 6A Southern Idaho Conference opening round of matches is this Thursday and Friday, Paul, and then everybody else will get going in the subsequent weeks in the Treasure Valley. As a reminder, we have all of the district tournament brackets for boys and girls soccer on our website, IdahoSports.com. Not every bracket is filled in right now because some leagues are still playing regular season games, but once we know where everybody is going, we'll fill those in. I've already had people ask, hey, when are the volleyball brackets? We're working on it. Okay.
I was up till 2:00 this morning working on volleyball brackets because we're recreating them from scratch. And so it's creating the individual brackets, and some of the conferences didn't send an actual bracket. They just sent, hey, here's the games and times. And so then you have to mentally picture what the bracket's going to look like with an opening loser out game and this one coming around. So yeah, they're coming. The ones we have are almost done. Yep.
And then those will be posted as well. But you can't miss those soccer district brackets. They're right at the top of the homepage at IdahoSports.com. I wanted to hone in on, again, kind of the 4A Snake River Valley Conference. It's a fun league. Obviously, we know about Fruitland and Homedale on the girls' side, and McCall Donnelly is always good. But I wanted to stop down on a newcomer to the league this year in Parma. The Panthers, for the first time, Paul, had varsity boys and girls soccer this season. I think it's been a resounding success. Just taking a look at the girls and how their season has gone, they started like most brand new programs, especially going up against like Fruitland and McCall and Homedale. They're 2-10 overall, 2-9 in the league, but they're going to qualify for the district tournament, and they'll have a shot at really going on a Cinderella run, which we've seen in this district over the past couple of years. An underdog typically sneaks their way through. But on the boys' side, Paul, not only did Parma have varsity soccer for the first time ever, but they won the regular season conference title with a record of 8 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties. That's incredible.
And that one loss they had was to Fruitland at Fruitland. They lost, I can't remember what it was. It was 6-0, something like that. But then they come back and avenge that at home, and they win 2-0. And in talking to, Will about it, and then looking some things up, soccer fields in the state of Idaho, like a basketball court, like a football field, there's not a standard for the size of field you have to have. They just say the field of play shall be 100 yards to 120 yards long and 55 yards to 80 yards wide. Well, that's a big difference. And when they played in Fruitland has a very big field, so they're on the upper end of that. When they play at home, it's a lot smaller. And so according to some of those players, it felt like they were playing on this huge, massive field that was, it makes a big difference if it's an extra 10, 15 yards long or 5 or 10 yards wide. In soccer, that's a lot of running. So they come back to home where they're more used to a kind of a confined space, and they beat Fruitland down there. A lot of these boys have been playing rec league soccer together forever. And so this isn't new for them. They got a couple of kids, cousins, I think brothers, Ian and Omar Alvarez. They're actually the kicker and the punter on the football team. And so they come out and they play some soccer, which is great. An interesting point that I'm sure the football coach isn't going to like, soccer team has scored 35 points this year. The football team in Parma has scored 33 points. And so the soccer team is actually outscoring the football team by 2 points so far this year.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And Omar Alvarez, no slouch. He was first team all-conference punter last year as a freshman for that football team. And so it is kind of a dichotomy. We see it a lot of schools that have success in soccer. I think of Caldwell right away, right? Parma. That does take some of those athletes away from the football team. And so that is a balance that Parma is trying to find still. But man, boys soccer, they're off to a great start. Nathan Kompas is leading the way with 31 total points, 12 goals, 7 assists, followed by the Alvarezes. And really, Parma's defense has been pretty impressive this year too. That's really carried them in a lot of these matchups.
And that defense wins championships, right? It's true in football and basketball as well as soccer. And so, having these kids playing together in rec leagues growing up, having Ian and Omar Alvarez, they are, parents, family migrated up, and, they are hardcore soccer fans. Will said he sat next to the parents, I think, in Gooding, and they had no clue what was going on because it was football. And so he was kind of explaining to them, but they know soccer. And, you get a team like that, it's hard to beat. And on the girls' side, it's their first year, but it's a lot of volleyball players that said, we don't want to play volleyball, let's play soccer. And so they're not having quite the success just because they haven't played as much as the boys have. So, but having that first year, that's how you build a program. And I'm always excited to see schools add sports. And you hope it doesn't take away from the other sports, but more opportunities for more kids is always a good thing.
Yep. Really what's going to be key is they did draw twice with McCall Donnelly, 1-1 the first time, 3-3 the second time. And when you get to district soccer and postseason soccer, okay, there's no more draws. We go 2 overtime periods, and then we go to penalty kicks. And no coach wants to go to PKs because you just throw everything out the window and good luck.
Everything comes down to 2 people. The whole season comes down to 2 people. And it's a 50-50. I'm going to dive this way no matter what what that person does. They have to make that decision. And we've seen many teams live and die with the penalty kicks in state tournaments.
Yep. Here is Joel Richardson in the chat, our East Idaho Prepcaster, and he's a big soccer guy too. Even at the highest level, no soccer field has to have the same lengths, and the grass can also vary in length. We're talking about that on the North Idaho Prepcast this morning, Paul, where Coeur d'Alene and Lake City are going to play this best of 3 district championship series because they're the only 2 schools in their league up here. You're talking about going from Coeur d'Alene High plays on turf. Well, Lake City plays on grass. That also can complicate things.
And you see it in football too. Some teams play on turf, some on grass. And turf, it's smooth. You're not going to have dirt clogs. You're not going to have muddy spots. It's a whole different ballgame. With soccer, same thing. You're kicking the ball around, and all of a sudden it hits a clump of dirt that you don't see and goes a different way, or you slip in the grass, whatever. It makes a huge difference. But that's the way the game's played, and you've got to do what you got. Got to do what you got to do. I think Joel knows soccer. I think he spent a couple years in South America on a mission, so he probably got the soccer bug down there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Joel says I really like soccer, but I hate, all caps, hate PKs. Yeah, no coach wants PKs. That's for sure. Okay, well, you mentioned it. Will Henneke is kind of our resident Parma. He is a Parma resident, and so he always keeps us updated on what's going on in Parma. He did send along a couple of photos to show of the Parma team in their inaugural season. Okay, Paul, here they are. I like those uniforms.
Yeah, I like that. And what's nice is that the number is actually above those stripes. And as broadcasters, for football, they would have put that number in light gray right in the middle of all that black and white, just to piss us off. But yeah, those are great. Those are fantastic. I like that.
And then here's some action. This is when they played Ambrose a couple of weeks ago, and Ambrose just started their soccer program not that long ago either. It's becoming a more popular alternative to football in the fall, that's for sure. And then here's you can see right here a smile on the face and good teamwork and camaraderie.
Yep.
So
Yep.
those are cool.
And camaraderie matters, I think, more in soccer than a lot of other sports. You have to know where your teammate is going to be before he's there. It's a quarterback wide receiver relationship between everybody, really. If you kick that through 3 different people, you want to believe that your teammate's going to be there. So it's absolutely a lot of camaraderie there.
Yep. So we will be keeping an eye on Parma and Fruitland and McCall Donnelly on the boys' side, and Fruitland certainly on the girls' side, and McCall Donnelly as well, as we get into the soccer postseason. But again, all of those district brackets on our website at IdahoSports.com, and you can follow along there. In fact, statewide, our first night of district soccer action, and we already had our first upset. Number 5 Lewiston upset number 4 Lakeland in boys soccer last night. So here we go. Buckle up.
Came up quick, didn't it? We're already almost mid-October. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Volleyball is getting closer and closer to the postseason, as we mentioned. We're not quite there yet. We still have a little runway in the regular season here. The last big weekend of regular season tournaments was this past weekend, Paul, and I'm just about finished getting caught up on all of the weekend tournament results. It takes a long time to sort through the pool play and the bracket play. And
just to kind of peek behind the scenes, what we try and do here, it doesn't always work out. At night, I will put in as many scores as I can find at night. I like to stay up late. Brandon gets up early, so I'll put in scores. And then he gets up and kind of finishes them off. But when it's a volleyball tournament scenario where in our schedules it's just, Melba versus Rocky Mountain volleyball tournament, I go, nope, that's Brandon's. That's all Brandon. So Brandon because he has to you have to edit that game. It's not just putting in a score. So yeah, the fact that we have tournament results on Idaho Sports, I think it's a pretty underappreciated feat that you have managed to make happen this year, for sure.
Yeah, because in years past we had only reported regular season non-tournament results, because that's what officially has to be reported for Max Preps, which is the official bracketing partner of the IHSAA. But I got some feedback, and they said, well, we want to know, because a lot of these teams that see each other at state have played in these regular season tournaments, and they're missing that context. And so we have included all of the tournament results. Yes, even the times where they split 1-1. It's all important data, I feel like, when we look ahead to the state tournament. So
I agree. I agree, absolutely.
So
I think it's a little underappreciated. I'm not sure if enough people know. So tell a buddy if you're a volleyball player that Idaho Sports has them all.
Yes, we have by far the most accurate results of anybody out there. One of the big tournaments took place at Rocky Mountain High School in Meridian, the Rocky Mountain Invitational. This was kind of a members only. You had to have a members only jacket to get to this thing. It was for the elite volleyball programs, mostly at the 6A, 5A level. We had local teams that were competing. Rocky Mountain, of course, they were the host. Boise High, Mountain View, Timberline, Centennial. We had Lake City come down from North Idaho. Highland and Thunder Ridge came from the east. There were some 5A teams. Lakeland, Pocatello, Bonneville came over to compete. And then there was Melba. And we're like, Melba's...
Who invited them?
Melba is a 3A program, and they were the only non-6A or 5A program competing. There weren't even 4A teams competing at this thing. Melba earned that invite, no doubt, because they are an elite volleyball program. And I think it shows when you look at how this tournament shook out. This wasn't a pool play and then bracket play. It was basically everybody gets 5 matches, and you're going to play 5 really good teams. And so we had 2 teams go 5-0, Paul. Timberline and Centennial both go 5-0. Timberline beat Rocky, Highland, Pocatello, Bonneville, and Melba. Centennial beat Rocky, Thunder Ridge, Lake City, Bonneville, and Lakeland. Centennial has had a fantastic season. Right out of the gates, they got put on everybody's radar when they went over to Highland and won the Peg Peterson invite in that opening weekend of competition. And they have just been ascending ever since.
That's another big volleyball tournament. That Peg Peterson. That's been going on for years. It's kind of like the Rocky Mountain Rumble, the Rocky Mountain Rumble. It's an invite only. You don't get you're on the waiting list, right? In fact, I think they said they had somebody from like New Jersey asking to play in the Rumble next year. I mean, it's crazy. And these volleyball tournaments in Idaho are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're getting more popular from outside the state. I love seeing that. And you're right. And this one is the same thing. It's not just, well, who needs to fill a date? Nope. It's let's get the best of the best over here.
Yeah, Centennial is 25-3-1 this year. They are 8-2 in SIC play, good for third place right now. Hawaii still leading the way, 9-0 in SIC play, 21-3 overall. Just a quick aside, Hawaii went to Phoenix, Arizona this past weekend to compete in the Nike Tournament of Champions. They did all right. They lost their first match against James Logan High School from California, and then they didn't lose again until their first game Saturday against Village High from Colorado, 2-1. Other than that, wins over Mission Hills, California, Westwood, Arizona, Meade, Washington, Desert Hills, Utah, Red Mountain, Arizona. So they went 5-2 at the Nike Tournament of Champions. Skyview better look out. Hawaii is ready to rumble. That's pretty good.
Yep. And Skyview is just that volleyball name. I mean, it's just, who's going to be good in volleyball? Well, I don't know anything, but Skyview is going to be good. That's just the way it works. It's like, Bonneville is going to be good. You just always know teams are going to be good. And going back to Melba, once the Clark sisters graduated, I think people thought that Melba would not be. But boy, that program has been built up, and those girls are so well coached. I think it's always great as a small school guy to see the team, smaller schools representing in a sport like volleyball. It's a little bit different in football where size can matter, but in volleyball, I'd love to see a Hoosiers style tournament in Idaho with volleyball. Pit everybody against everybody like they do in Indiana and see who wins.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago at the Kiona Classic, that's kind of a season opening tournament as well in August, Horseshoe Bend beat Boise. I mean, Boise High. So that's a 1A beating a 6A. I mean,
see? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I like the idea. So Timberline and Centennial both go 5-0. Melba goes 4-1. Their only loss was to Timberline, and they pushed them. They lost 3-2. It went to the ultimate deciding fifth set. But otherwise, they picked up wins over Boise, Mountain View, Lake City, and Bonneville. That's 3 6As and a 5A.
Crazy. I mean, so really you look at them and go, they have to be favored in that 3A. Have to be. So like you said, districts are coming up in the next couple of weeks for volleyball. And boy, that WIC is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that tournament shakes out, because there's no shortage of good teams. So it's really going to be fun to see how that goes. And then just to wrap up from the Rocky Mountain invite, Boise goes 3-2. Rocky and Mountain View each go 2-3. So pretty good spirited competition all around. But man, Melba, Centennial, and Timberline, the big winners over the weekend.
Yeah, and it's always cool to get that cross-state matchups. You got Lakeland coming, and Thunder Ridge coming, and having that cross-state play, you can kind of get a feel for what the state tournament's going to look like, because all these teams are going to be at the state tournament. I mean, I would be shocked if any of them didn't make it. Kudos to these schools, because it's a lot of work to put on these tournaments. It's a lot of work. It costs money, and but the ones that do it, good for them.
Yep, for sure. All right, Paul. Well, we'll wrap up today's edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com with a pretty touching story from Emmett High School this past Friday night. If you just looked at the final score, Emmett picked up another win. Nicely done. But lost in the context of that is at the very end of the game, a very special senior scored his first career touchdown for Emmett High School. And so it was just a really remarkable story. We wanted to share it. Jason Greenman is a senior at Emmett High School. He's a special needs student that plays football. And on senior night, Emmett in the closing moments, gives him the ball, and he gets his first varsity touchdown. How cool is that?
It's so cool, and we see it once in a while in the state of Idaho. Every year, every other year, it never gets old ever. And if you don't well up a little bit, then you are completely heartless when you watch this stuff. And the cool thing about it was I think you'll see it in this clip, was the Columbia kids, who of course they were involved in this as well. And as soon as he scores that, they're rushing in, pat him on the helmet, going crazy. That's a once in a lifetime experience for Jason and his family. And he bleeds Emmett blue through and through. His mom was talking about how he slept with his helmet, cradling his helmet, wearing his jersey. It's just the way it is. And I love that Coach Hargett did this. He's a good guy, great coach. And so to do this, not only for his program, I mean, the lessons learned by the kids, incredible lessons that are going to last their whole life. So, take a look at this clip. And like I said, if you don't well up just a little bit, then go check yourself.
Yeah, here's the video clip. This was shared on the Emmett High School Facebook page. And again, it's pretty remarkable. You can already see Columbia recognizing what's going on here, applauding as well.
Is there audio?
It doesn't come through you have to load it into the system yourself. So we'll just kind of narrate it. You can see right there though, walks in for the touchdown, and then the celebration begins. And like you said, even the Columbia players joining in on the celebration. How cool is that?
And they're coming in from the sideline. I mean, it's everybody all around together. That's just awesome. I mean, and from what I understand, the community was all involved. It was great. There were news stations there doing stories on it. I can't get enough of this kind of stuff. This is high school sports.
Yep. Pretty remarkable. Pretty cool. And there's the future wave of Emmett Huskies.
Yep. It's the Pups.
That's a lesson they'll remember for such a long time as well. So just part of a special night overall for Emmett High School there. And again, what a moment for Jason and that Emmett community. Jason Greenman, senior, scoring his first career varsity touchdown. And like you said, Paul, if you're not, if that doesn't affect you, then man, there's something wrong. Murtaugh had a player earlier this season, a special needs student who plays football. And Scott and I talked about that on the Magic Valley Prepcast. He came in and got his first career varsity catch. And then he did a little celebration dance after he caught it too, which was cool. So,
well, and Jason, he's also scored a bucket in basketball as well last season. It's a nice little jumper from the right wing, scored it late in the fourth quarter. So he's scored a bucket. He scored a touchdown. It's great. He's an integral part there at Emmett High School. Even though he's a senior, I'm going to guess he's still going to be around.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really cool story. And that's what it's all about. So, all right, Paul, thank you for hopping on again here to do the Treasure Valley Prepcast, to share the incredible stories both on and off the field in District 3. We really appreciate it.
Anytime. Hope I'm back next week.
Yes, you're definitely going to get the call again. So same great time, same great place.
Next week you're going to take a little vacation. So I'm going to try to pretend to be Brandon Baney for a couple of days, and we'll see how that goes. See if Idaho Sports still exists when you get back.
Yeah, we thought this would be a good week to do some crossover episodes. We're going to do a North Idaho, East Idaho crossover. I think they're just going to compete to see, which area the state of Ada hates more.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
And then that's the Can't Get No Respect Club there, our East Idaho, North Idaho crossover. And then we'll do a Treasure Valley, Magic Valley crossover. You and Scott Burton. Yeah, you guys will have no shortage of things to talk about, I'm sure.
Nothing to do with sports, but nothing short to talk about.
Yeah. You can help him craft his playlist. We were already talking about Jerome High School is hosting the 2A state volleyball tournament this year, and he is going to be on the mic, and a lot of those schools don't have pep bands, so he is also playing the music in between sets and whatnot, and so you can help him craft his playlist.
He's a big U2 fan, and he and I are our genre meshes very well as far as music goes. I don't mind U2, but that dude he's gone to their concerts like 10 times, went down to the Sphere and watched them. He's a U2 fanatic, but so I'm going to guess there's going to be a lot of Bono playing at Jerome High School during that tournament.
Yep. So it'll be, he said also it's during Halloween this year, so he might try to get some Halloween themed songs.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Mix, so
I can help him out.
Definitely. So that is going to be next week. We will put next week's crossover show in both the Magic Valley and Treasure Valley Prepcast feeds, which, by the way, you can listen to this podcast. Of course, you're watching this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account, but you can listen to this anytime at IdahoSports.com. All of our Prepcasts are on the left side of the homepage, or you can download this podcast wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. And if you are hanging out with us live here on a Wednesday afternoon, if you can hit that like button and then share this when it's all said and done, that'll help everybody find the replay a little easier amongst all of the doom scrolling and political whatnot going on in social
There's
media.
A lot going on in the world right now.
Yeah. So if you want to find that Treasure Valley content, hit that like button and share it if you would. And otherwise, thanks for tuning in. For Paul Kingsbury, I'm Brandon Baney. See you back here next week for another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.